Lads, the final start in a few hours. I am excited. Tampa, Colorado. How we feeling?
Pretty
I'm
good.
good. Yeah.
I'm excited to see this. I think Daniel summed it up pretty well last episode where he said, um, this is the final we kind of been waiting for about 3 years now, kind of
Mhm.
since Tampa made their first cup final. Um, I- and we finally got it.
So today's going to be a shorter episode.
Only
Because
3 hours. Only
no,
3
no,
hours.
no, 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 no. Because it's been kind of quiet. The commissioner is speaking right now, but obviously we don't have the time to fully go into it. I'm sure next episode we can go over it though. There's
Oh,
some
I'm sure there's
coaching-
going to be a lot to talk about, right, Adam? You know how it is.
His obvious hot takes all the time.
what the old commissioner, the
Yeah.
officiating and all this kind of stuff. And what, I'm convinced Gary Bettman. I was talking with Will about this once about how Bettman doesn't actually watch hockey, but before he does a press conference, he'll find like an athletic article that's the biggest stories in the league. And his last one at the All-Star game would have been like, Ovechkin chasing history, McDavid and Matthews doing really well. Next question. Yeah, officiating good. Okay, bye guys. That's sort of how it feels like with Bettman's press conferences, but because I think Board of Governors is coming up too, right? So
I believe that was on Monday.
were they?
Maybe
It should
not.
be
So quiet.
once everything comes out of there. Because think of it, the Cup final is going to be done like max will be done in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And then from there, obviously, we're going to keep getting coaching stuff because there's still a fair few teams who need to hire. Then we're like less than a month from the draft and then free agency. So it's going to start picking up really, really quickly.
And then
Really,
it's gonna-
really quickly.
And then it's going to drop off like off a cliff.
Exactly. But if we get an off-season half as good as last year, I think we'll all be happy. I wanted to open the show by reading something from Puckpedia because last week we were talking about Edmonton's cap situation. And I was confused about the Mike Smith situation because he has an over 35 deal. I still haven't seen anything exactly about that. But Duncan Keith, I wanted to mention because as we mentioned, he had an illegal contract. However, what we forgot was because it's one of those illegal contracts prior to this CBA, if he retires, there's cap recapture. However, and I'll read the full thing here from Puckpedia. Great site, by the way. If Duncan Keith were to retire after this season, the Blackhawks would have a 5.5 cap hit this year. Sorry, I should say next season, 22-23, and then a $2 million cap hit in 23-24. The Oilers would lose his actual cap hit at 5.5 for next season, and then instead have instead have a $3.4 million negative cap hit, cap savings, for a total swing of $8.9 million. So they lose his cap hit and they basically get a cap bonus. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I think people were mentioning the Jared Cowan buyout. That was
Yeah.
a couple $100,000, but
Not
So-
$3 million.
Wasn't this is the recapture I know I might be wrong here, but is this similar to Roberto Luongo with the Vancouver
Exactly.
Canucks? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I don't think. But the difference with Luongo was Florida and Vancouver got
Okay.
screwed on that
why did Florida get
because-
screwed there?
because Florida had the contract at the.
Oh yeah, because
Because Florida had the contract at the time,
Hmm.
which to me, and now I'm even more confused. Thank you for bringing that up, Daniel, because I was trying to wrap my head around the Duncan Keith thing, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand it. But now you have the Roberto Luongo one. Why is it? I'd love to know, and I wish Cap Friendly or Puckpedia, whoever knows, could explain it, is why this is a different situation than Roberto Luongo. Why are the Oilers getting cap savings? Like, I understand why Chicago's getting the recapture penalty, right? That's just how these illegal contract works, because whatever. But why is Edmonton getting the savings on this one when Florida did it?
So it should help them if Keith retires, it should help them this offseason. And we talked about how there's a lot of work to do there. And then that's dependent on if Keith retires. I'm still curious about Mike Smith because he's over 35. Maybe because there's 1 year left. I don't know the exacts of it. but I would imagine if he retires, maybe it's small, but I thought over for 35 deals also had some sort of penalty if guys retired. Or maybe I'm just thinking pure bonuses wise, because remember, I think the Canucks have one next year because Yaroslav Halak's played in X amount of games. But there's a lot of those sort of small wrinkles in the cap that just don't seem to make sense. Okay. We can quickly preview game one tonight, and then we'll go into the big stuff, aka the coaching news. Well, okay, I should say the most recent news things is the Cup Finals a bit more important than Tortorella getting hired in Philly. No offense, but the Cup Final. So yeah, with the Cup Final, talk about the big stuff and then the more recent news after. It looks like Braden Point will be playing tonight. First time since Game 7 versus Toronto, which is funny. And Nazem Kadri, maybe not, but he apparently is listed day to day. I think the same with Andrew Cogliano, who I totally remembered was hurt. No, he didn't. You imagine he'll probably need a bit of time. They're probably going to ease him in to get that rust off because he's played in so long. Like, it's different in the regular season, but imagine going from, listen, that first round series is pretty intense, but then going to the atmosphere of the start of a Cup Final.
Right.
What's reasonable to expect from Braden Point tonight?
For me, I mean, to me, I don't think the atmosphere matters. He's been through it twice.
That's very true.
Like, that's the thing, and that's the whole point. That's the whole thing with Tampa, is that they've been through this. And you can talk about who they played, blah 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 blah. They've been through it. That's the main thing here, is that they've been through it. And you're getting back a player. Okay, in this series, Braden Point is he's not the best player. That's Nathan McKinnon. Where does he rank among the best players in this series?
Well, I think even before McKinnon, you say Cale Makar.
Okay, sorry, third or fourth?
Yeah, I say top 5.
Yeah, what worst top 5? Because Hedman, Makar, McKinnon, Kucherov, playoff. Oh yeah, okay. Vasilevsky, and then like Kucherov and that. So he's 5 or 6 maybe, which is hilarious.
Which is crazy.
Top 7.
Which is crazy. Like that, and Tampa's getting back their second best forward. I guess it depends on who you ask. Like, it's just it's crazy for them. I think this, again, we were talking about, like, last episode, how we thought how close this series was going to be without Braden Point and without Nazem Kadri. And now we know Braden Point's going to be in the series. And not that it's not going to be tight. The series isn't going to be tight, but I think this is a major advantage for Tampa.
It's definitely a big jolt, I think, right now, because the Lightning, they've already been rolling. But Alex said, arguably they're one of their top 3 guys is coming back into the lineup. But the big thing I have for that is that they've been able to do the next man up. I think they're the definition, or at least the model of next man up. Even if you don't have a 100% Braden Point, I wouldn't think that it would be a big problem if you limit his minutes. If you maybe don't give him like the crunch time minutes, you let the other guys, especially in that top 9, take up some of more of that offensive role that they've had to do without him. So I think it's just an extra thing they have there, and just see how it goes, because it is pretty nice though that they do have him back.
It's funny that we mentioned all those good players and we did not mention Landeskog, Rantanen, or Steven Stamkos, who is having like the best stretch of hockey maybe ever in his career. So I went to go get Cap Friendly because I wanted to look at some stuff. I instinctively went on Twitter somehow. I don't know, just social media age. And I just saw something that said Gary Bettman says that apparently the NHL, let me double check I'm reading this right, just announced record revenues this season for the NHL.
Yeah.
I love escrow, don't you guys? Best record-setting years, but escrow.
But he also said within 3 years, maybe even 2, the salary cap can begin growing again at the regular rate, which we all knew. This is, again, not new information. Just
repeated. What we could thank for that, guys.
What can we thank? Or who?
The retro reverse jerseys.
Oh yeah,
sure,
I'm sure that. I'm sure Daniel. I'm sure that the Arizona Coyotes retro reverse jerseys, just those.
Yeah, just those.
And Detroit's practice jerseys, of course.
Yeah. Same with the Islanders practice jerseys.
Oh, that was bad. Wow. Yeah, I kind of like. I'm kind of excited for the series, guys. I won't lie. I was
Is there
kind of like,
anyone who's not excited for the series? I want to know. We should have a stern talking to.
You know what it really
hmm.
reminds me of, and I know that is going to be a while ago, and I was around, but I didn't get to watch it because I didn't like hockey yet, but I was still pretty young as well. But this really does remind me of the 2001 finals when you look back on it, because
You're gonna have to refresh our
it
memory.
was
Who
the
is that?
when the Avalanche beat the Devils.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And like
Should've known
both
that.
first place teams against each other. I know Tampa's not first, but it just kind of feels like that. Like the defending champions, the Devils, are in the finals. Another dynasty team is in the finals, and it like I don't feel like anyone's really an underdog. Like there is the benefits on each side, for example, goaltending especially, but I don't know. It just kind of feels like me like to this. There were like any team could take an advantage here.
I just kept looking at the rosters the last couple of days, and as much as I love the Abs and I love some like the way they play, the way they move the puck, it's just so hard to get past the idea of Kemper versus Vasilevsky. Like I saw, like I think NHL.com on Twitter was posting some stats, right, and it was like, well, they example put up like Francouz hasn't lost in the playoffs. I'm like, okay, hold on there,
Cool.
and they were like, Makar franchise record for these points. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. And then I see them like over a 4 point something goals per game, and I wanted to say, what's the goals against? What's the goals again? Can I see the advanced numbers for the goalies, please? I'd like to see that. But it's just I can't get over the fact that Vasilevsky is right there on the brink of history against, no offense, Darcy Kemper, who's been in and out with eye issues and vision problems there in this playoffs, and Pavel Francouz, who had a few stinkers against Edmonton. I am worried.
Like
I could kind of feel that because even 100% Darcy Kemper doesn't compare. So
No one
that's
does.
kind of the
no,
feeling.
literally,
Yeah, no one does,
there's one goalie in this league who comes close to that,
and they beat him.
and they beat him. Like, sorry, like it's just a fact. Like there's
Louis
no
Domingue,
one
right?
else.
You're talking about?
No, Daniel.
No, okay.
Like,
Put some respect on Shesterkin's name.
Like I don't even think that's up for debate. Like I think they were talking about it on 32 Thoughts. Andrei Vasilevsky's on a tier of his own, and just below him is Igor Shesterkin on a tier of his own, and then there's the drop off.
And then there's like Saros, maybe
Saros, Sorokin,
and
Healthy
then it's
Frederick Anderson.
Markstrom.
I don't want to put Freddie Anderson there.
Okay.
He had a chance, but because he didn't play in the playoffs, I can't give him any respect.
Okay.
He can't do that. There's I was looking again at UFA goalies, and I'm like, man, it is kind of dry out there.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not
like
a great goalie market this year.
And I think the stretch he had with Minnesota kind of made me question Marc-Andre Fleury a lot. Obviously, I was always kind of anti him starting in the playoffs, but I am worried. I'm looking at the goalie market. I'm like, man, it's still that thing of, if you're going to win the East for the next few years, you have to get by Vasilevsky and Shesterkin, and it's so difficult to see anyone get past those guys.
Right.
Question: is Andrei Vasilevsky the pre-2018-19 LeBron James?
Honestly, it honestly does feel like that, because you essentially, to get to the NBA Finals in the East, you had to go through LeBron.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Raptors fans very much know this. It was quite a mission to do it, and they didn't do it.
They did it. He went to LA.
Then he moved to LA, and then they won. But right, that's the timeline, Daniel.
Yeah,
So
that's timeline.
honestly, that's actually not a bad comparison at all.
Okay, because obviously I'm new getting into the NBA. When he went to LA, yeah, because that was the only time they could get out the West, and it was afterwards when Kawhi went to the Clippers, like, I'm going to take over LA.
It was that same summer.
The same summer. So wait. Was Anthony Davis a Laker the year Toronto won the cup? Won the NBA title?
No, he was traded to LA after.
That's
summer,
why. Okay.
That summer,
okay.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay,
When,
I was wondering.
The Lakers mortgaged their future.
Yes, and now they're stuck.
And then the Clippers mortgaged their future.
Yeah,
and they suck too. Kawhi wasn't healthy. That's fine, but still, it's who I really like, because I've been watching him on First Take. Patrick Beverley. Really funny
Really?
guy.
I thought you were gonna say
Really
JJ
funny
Redick.
guy. Oh, JJ too.
I like
JJ's
JJ
really
Redick.
funny.
Yeah, he's
But
like a
Pat
natural.
Bev-
He reminds me of a Kevin BX. Like he's a very natural, like right after retirement, like very natural in that media environment.
Did you see the sort of little rumors about how Sportsnet aren't very happy with the way their intermission's been, like Hockey Night especially?
What?
Oh, I didn't hear
Their
that.
intermissions aren't good.
Nah, wow, yeah, well, no, but back to you, Kelly. Well, Mike Smith is resilient. No, I mean maybe you could also turn down the spending, like the sports betting odds a little
Can I-
bit. and maybe we
Can I be
watch-
like completely honest? And I'm not going to trash sports, and I'm just going to trash hockey. The way it's done. And I think here's what the issue is okay, look at basketball. Who's talking? Who are the former players that go on TV? Most of them are pretty good players. Most of them. Shaq, Barkley, the list goes on.
I mean, Kenny
Decent
Smith
players.
was a
Decent
Decent
six-man.
players.
Yeah.
Kenny the
No-
Jet Smith, NBA champion. Have some respect.
No,
here.
no offense to the and they're great, but they own from hockey perspective, the guys who are currently on TV are great. But for the most part, they're only offering the one perspective of their side of it. They're not star players. We finally just got that this year with Wayne Gretzky. And it's been a breath of fresh air because he's offering a perspective that we haven't had for how many years. What we need is a mix of all of that together. Like it's big, it can't be a seventh defenseman, like not saying Kevin BX is a seventh defenseman. I'm just saying that type of, because those are the type of guys who end up coming into hockey media. Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
PJ
BX in his prime was
So,
was pretty good.
yes, sorry. I'm not talking specifically about
Yeah.
Kevin BX. I'm
Yeah.
just saying the caliber of player who enters hockey media versus the caliber of player who enters basketball media, completely different. And I feel like there's a much wider range in basketball. And I think that vastly helps the discussion during intermissions and during just general analysis. But that's me.
Do you think that will change, I guess, with the current generation of players that, it's not NBA level, but they're
Yeah,
like, outspoken?
good,
Like,
But that's going to take 20 years when the guy, like, we're going to,
Trevor Zegras
okay, so
retires.
this generation of hockey players, okay, PK is probably going to do media. Who else do you think is going to get into media from this generation of players?
I hope Stamkos does. Stamkos is big. You know who I'd always liked? I would love to see do it. I don't know if he would though, because I don't know what he's doing. Zetterberg, I think would be really good at, because he was always a really good quote. I think
Brad
people
Marchand.
always sort of liked Brad Marchand would be brilliant.
I could see
he'd
with a
be brilliant.
podcast.
Brad
Oh.
Marchand podcast.
Give Brad and PK a podcast. Let's do it.
Remember when you laid me out in the best clean hit ever? PK, I do. Look up the PK hit on Brad Marchand.
Today's
people. It
guest
was
will be
ridiculous.
Milan Lucic, and we're going to look back on that series.
Oh god. So what did you say to J.O. Weiss in the handshake line? It stays on the ice. I also think that like NHL players, like they speak a different language sometimes, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they don't sound real sometimes. You just listen to stuff, like if you go to like an Instagram page of any hockey player and look at the things their teammates are saying, what does it mean? They don't feel like real people sometimes.
Oh, I agree. I don't think that stops at hockey. I think that is in most sports. Like, sorry, I want to be clear. I'm not diminishing the work any of them have done so far. What I'm saying is to continue the growth, I think, of hockey media, what everyone thinks, like, I really think the different opinions that we can receive, but we haven't received yet, is really what's killing us.
It just doesn't feel like it's targeted to a young audience a lot either. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
listen,
too.
I don't want to throw sand in Ron McLean's eyes, but I watch Hockey Night sometimes and I don't feel like I am a target audience. I'm 23. No, I'm 22. 22? I'm 22. You know what I mean?
You have to think
I
about
forgot
that
how
for
old
a
I
second.
was. Like I'm 22 years old and I'm like, no offense, I love the game of hockey. And I've said this before. I don't really care about the Oilers in the 80s. I don't care. I remember watching a Sportsnet intermission show in the playoffs, and Cabby in his betting corner thing made this joke about like here's this random player. He played in this league. I'm sure Ron McLean has a story about it. They throw it back to Ron McLean and he has a story. And I'm just thinking, guys, like, you know what I think could really, really work is I think you've seen a lot this year that we don't see often is like Jennifer Bottrell is great, right? So is BX, BX is good. Those two you've seen occasionally, they go at it. Not like they don't antagonize each other, but they can have a healthy debate. We need debates. Like, listen, we don't really have, even if in a lot of like hockey radio and that, we don't have a debate show. I'm not saying you copy a First Take, or Skip and Shannon, but have something along that lines. Like, you don't have to be like screaming blasphemy and all that, but just allow people to have a sort of discussion here. Like, let's have a Hedman McCarr debate here and not just be like, oh, experience, no. Like, don't be afraid to, just pinch each other a little bit here. Like, just don't make it a sort of, like a batting line. Like, oh, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn. Let's have a bit of fun here.
Which is the sport. I feel like we're watching coverage for a completely different sport sometimes, because that's what is on the ice and then what ends up getting talked about feel like two completely different things. Like, yeah, debate, fun, like just it feels so it has to be prim and proper, and I get it. That's CBC, that's Hockey Night in Canada. I understand, but like, it's 2022. We're halfway through the year. Come on. Like, I get it. There's the history behind it, but like, don't tell me things don't change. Don't tell me the audience doesn't change. Like, I'm sorry. That's not that you can have fun and not completely ruin a reputation. I think that's very much possible.
Listen, you see the next generation coming. Let's reach out to them, Sportsnet. Come on. Kind of like the next generation of the Iginla family. Jade winning gold at the women's U18s. What a transition there. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the women's team because they had some pretty great wins. Of course, beating the States in the gold medal game, along the way beating Finland again after getting pwned by both of them earlier in the tournament. Just wanted to give that out. I barely knew this tournament was going on actually until I heard like the STP guys talk about it. I'm like, this I believe is the same tournament that the IIHF were like publicly pushed. Like, are you rescheduling, sorry. And I don't think TSN we're coming at, we already went after Rogers. We're going after Bell now. I don't think TSN did a great job of advertising. Obviously, all the eyes right now are on Sportsnet, ESPN, and TNT. But how did we just not know? It was like Calgary tweeting about the Iginlas, and that's it.
I wasn't attacking Rogers. I just want to be clear. I wasn't attacking Rogers. I think
we would love to work for you one day, but we're just
listen. I think it's all of them. Like and it's not a bash. I think it's constructive criticism. I didn't say you're garbage and you should never do this again. I said this is what you need to do better. It's constructive criticism. Now back to the point.
Yeah.
Daniel, go ahead.
I'd like to just say one thing about it. And I know what you mean. Like, it was nice to see on Twitter, like the updates and what was going on, but yeah, like not a lot of advertising for that. It's something we've said before when it came to these international tournaments. So I'm hoping for more of that. But the second thing is, I like that you mentioned the Calgary angle to it, because Will Baldwin had quite a few tweets about where the Iginla and his Jerome Iginla and his family, just how well loved they are by the Flames, and even today how the whole family is embraced by that community. So that was a great story I liked about that one.
Mm-hmm. It's just it makes me concerned. What if it was a different if it was Jade Smith, you know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't the Iginla name, is it being mentioned? Because I don't think any other player was really mentioned. And listen, I don't know the U18 world of women's hockey very well. Which is a shame, but I just wanted to mention them anyway to say, hey, they got gold. Anytime you can beat the States, we got to mention it. So, just good to see. Good to see. Beside that, guys, I'm happy we had that little Sportsnet debate there because we needed stuff to talk about. Okay, gentlemen, we can talk about some of the more big news things coming out of the last few days. Both of these I originally saw reported by Kevin Weeks, who continues to be great at his NHL fans. How we going here? First off, I think this was the one he said last night or a few days ago, that the new head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights is Bruce Cassidy. You love to see it. I think it's funny how just how quickly he was hired after Boston let him go. I don't think anyone's surprised by it. Maybe it's like, it shows how much like Barry Trotz is taking his time. But a good hire for the Vegas Golden Knights, who sounds like maybe they really needed a new voice there who doesn't hate goaltenders like Pete DeBoer did.
Apparently, and I just saw this tweet. Apparently he was unemployed for 6 days and 22 hours.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Less than a week, barely.
Yes.
But less than a week.
I'm happy about this signing. I think that with Vegas, it kind of settles things down. Right now, they get a no-nonsense guy, but you've shown with the lineups he's been able to have with Boston. He's been able to adjust, especially when you needed a bit more speed to that traditional Boston-looking team, especially in the bottom six. I think it gives a better voice to what I think is going to be an uncertain time for the Golden Knights, depending on what happens. Jack Eichel's finally going to be in the team full time, his first training camp with them, going to see how he fits with everything. A lot of guys coming back from injury, seeing on what that core is really going to look like. I'm looking at Max Pacioretty, I'm looking at Robin Lehner. I'm seeing how they're going to respond to their past injuries and really address the depth part. We spoke about Vegas for so long about their depth. Remember when we said Cody Glass is going to fix that down the middle? That was a crazy prediction we had. I'm really going to see how that goes because I have liked how Bruce Cassidy's been able to kind of deal with what he was given. David Krejci was gone. You had to figure out how your centers are going to line up, how your winger is going to line up, how's everything going to look without Torrey Krug. So it'll be interesting to see, or even goaltending too. You don't have Tuukka Rask. You have these new guys, and how are you going to able to manage their games and their minutes?
You know what I like is no young prospects are going to complain about playing for Cassidy because Vegas have none because they traded them all away.
They have Zach Dean.
Who?
Zach Dean.
Who the hell is Zach Dean?
They got him he got him like a bit late in the first round 2 years ago.
Yo, they still have to make a lot of cap moves. By the way, they're a little choked up there.
No, I think this is like great for Vegas. Obviously, I would have thought Trotz might have been your best choice. Imagine Barry Trotz and Mark Stone. Also, we all know Barry Trotz makes goaltender's life a hell of a lot easier. Robin Lehner would have loved that, but I still think Bruce Cassidy is going to absolutely love this team. I think like you guys were saying about the veterans, I think obviously there's a lot of veterans on this team. And I think funny enough, I think he's walking into into a team that in a way is similar to Boston in that the depth is a little non-existent at the moment. And I think we saw that in Boston this year. And look what he did with Boston. They made it to the playoffs.
What I kind of love is I always like thinking about some of the players they maybe coached against. Hey, Pietrangelo. Remember when I think he scored the cup winning goal? I think Pietrangelo was the Brad Marchand famously skate to the bench right past Pietrangelo in the game and scored. That Michael Jordan thing from The Last Dance when he goes up to Larry Bird and he whispers some very kind, not so kind words. And we were like that Bruce Cassidy's gonna go to Pietrangelo saying, "Hey, buddy, thanks for costing me a cup." Oh man, remember back then, 2019, Bennington was good and not hated. Wild time.
And we saw each other in person. Crazy times.
Crazy.
Oh man,
Crazy.
I know, right?
I saw a tweet last night, and it was from he's a Bruins writer. No, I can't remember his name, and I couldn't find the tweet earlier, but essentially saying Bruce Cassidy finally getting to coach Jack Eichel, because if you remember, the Bruins were interested, and they were in the Jack Eichel sweepstakes.
That NCAA connection.
I don't think Cassidy coached in the NCAA.
Oh no, I'm talking about Jack Eichel because he played for Boston.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
played it. Yeah, okay. I was about to say, there you go. I was supposed to because I'm pretty sure he like coached the Frontenacs, which is
Oh, that's
interesting. Oh,
cool.
there you go. There you go. Okay. From there, where else can we go? My friends, of course, another Kevin Weeks. I love how playing the Rocky theme in the background because he's talking about Philadelphia. Gritty's gonna have a great time, lads. So Kevin Weeks is sort of saying here that Tortorella, John Tortorella, our favorite coach, Larry Brooks as well, has been offered the head coaching job in Philly. It's not confirmed. There's still details to be worked out, but you can expect that the next head coach in Philly is good chance it's going to be John Tortorella. Guys, I just first off, there's a lot sort of I think that you can criticize this hire for. I will say this though. Is there a more Philadelphia styled man in the exterior? Because Tortorella we know is a great guy and a rescue lovely guy. But there's a guy like if you just watch Tortorella's media meltdowns and you see the combination there with the Philadelphia Flyers, is there not a better match made in heaven?
No,
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I think this is like, I get it. You wanted to bring, like, I think Trotz was probably their guy. I just thought like this was like the perfect fit. Just he seems to me literally like Philadelphia. If you said who encompasses what Philadelphia is, it is John Tortorella. And I don't know. I have this gut feeling that it might work. Like, I feel like he's going to give, I know there's definitely concerns, but I just have this. And I think those concerns that you're talking about are going to come 3 years down the line. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be just enough time to save Chuck Fletcher's job. But I really do think it's going to work for at least 3 years, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to employ the Turtle School of Defense. We know for sure Master Roshi's coming in. You're going to say Daniel. Sorry, I need to throw in the Dragon Ball reference there.
That's okay. I really like that one.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think it is going to work for now. You know, he's going to reel in guys a bit, kind of calm things down in a weird way, saying like, no, this is the serious, like he wants a bit more of a serious approach. And he's going to say that I command the locker room right now. That is what Philly needs, like, especially after the way the year went for them, especially how little, like not little things, but how individual cases happen, like the Keith Yandel thing. That was of a bit of a wrinkle in what was already a bad season. He has enough veterans that I think he could rely on that are a bit reliable. Like, you know, we still have James Reeves like there, but it's going to be interesting to see how this works with the Philly roster of what we get. Are they going to kind of lean into a full retool? Are they still going to try to spend big? Are they going to bring in guys that are actually going to complement them within this 3-year window, or just guys that they just want to spend money on? Because we know how the Flyers are sometimes when it comes to assets.
It's going to be the latter. They're not going to retool. They all but said it in that press conference. It's an open checkbook. That's not retool.
Didn't they say aggressive retool? Or something
what does
like
that mean?
Yeah.
What does it aggressive
Adri.
retool? Aggressive. That's not a retool. That's like we're just that's like okay. We're just going to continue on as if everything's fine.
Exactly.
So it's not a retool. Can I just read this tweet real quick that I sent you guys earlier? I thought it was so funny.
Sure.
From Lachlan Irvin. He's a writer for Canucks Army. Going from Alain Vigneault to John Tortorella means the Flyers are only one season away from hiring Jim Benning to turn them around in a hurry.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. Amusing.
Also looking around the league. So let's just say that, the Torts thing, let's just say they tweet out right now, it's done. Unless I'm missing someone, I think these are the teams that still need head coaches. The Florida Panthers, don't know what's happening with Burnett. The Boston Bruins, obviously. Detroit, who knows who it's going to be. The Dallas Stars, like obviously there have been like guys like Friedman have said, oh, look out to these guys. No one wants to hear us go on about talk gets linked, but Bedore DeBoer's like until it's actually mentioned. But Dallas are there. Winnipeg, I think we're just kind of waiting for Barry to go there. Chicago, obviously, interviewed Luke Richardson, leave him alone. And technically Edmonton. Woodcroft's not re-signed yet. I could be forgetting someone. Sorry. I don't think so. But.
I'm just going through the list. Seattle. Dave Hackstall doesn't have a contract for this year, is what Cap Friendly says.
Really?
It says he's there, but doesn't have a contract.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Man, if they don't get Jay Woodcroft done, that's a failure.
That'd be really funny.
Like purely because, and listen, I very much criticized the Edmonton Oilers this year, and I think I gave them their credit the last couple episodes, but he's made it work. They have deficiencies. I think there's what team doesn't have deficiencies? Maybe the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning. Those are about the two teams that don't have deficiencies at the moment. And he's made it work, and it got them to this conference final where they haven't been in quite some time. And this core hasn't been forever. I think that's if you don't go back to that guy, I think it's different than, because now it's how is that different than Florida, right? And so I'm just creating a controversy for where it probably isn't needed, but they are similar situations. And we lost Daniel.
Finish your point.
Okay, no, there's a lot of similarities. Now the coaches previous left for different reasons, but it is different, or it is very similar. Sorry.
That's what happens when we lose Daniel. We all we get a little nervous. We'll be back. We're gonna go find him. All right, so Daniel unfortunately cut out. He's back though, but in the meantime, we managed to get some more stuff from this Bettman Daily press conference, so we can talk about that because we haven't been actually going for that long. Just want to read a few things here. First off, Bill Daly, deputy commissioner, does confirm that Russia and Belarus, the cup's not going to go there for whoever wins it. The players get their day with the cup. Apparently, winners will get repaid a visit later on. I don't know. You didn't have to say that. You know how long the war is going to last?
Just leave it for now. Yeah.
Or even if it's what's going to happen after that? What are you talking about? You didn't have to say that. And yeah, just what are you doing? If Tampa wins, Sergachev just tough crap. Your country sucks. No, if you know what I mean. Russia's not great. We can all admit that. Not great. Just do it in Tampa. That's unfortunate. Don't be another day you're going to revisit. Shut up. Oh, my God. Another thing, quickly here. This is something that really is annoying. Okay. There's going to be two things mainly we're going to talk about here. This is the first one. Bill Daly says, and I'm reading this from Chris Johnson's Twitter. Funny that he took Bitcoin out of his Twitter bio, by the way. Bill Daly says the arbitration on Evander Kane's terminated contract with the Sharks may not be resolved before free agency opens on July 13th. The arbitrator isn't available to conduct the next hearing until next month. Okay.
Oh.
So I believe they paused this initially because Kane wanted to focus on the season.
Fair.
I don't even think that's fair.
No, I think that's fair if you do the proper planning.
So he gets to finish his playing. Here's what I really hate, right? So Kane finishes the season, goes on his freaking run, and this arbitrator isn't even available, and this may not get resolved in basically the busiest time in the year. Where now, if I'm the Sharks, I'm furious about this. And if I'm the Oilers, I'm also furious about this. Or even if you're other teams, and even if you're Evander Kane, you're going to be frustrated about this. Because if it goes past the 13th and the 14th too, and if you miss out on all the time in the draft before that, that's when teams can make moves because of other cap stuff. Now, obviously, this summer you can go a certain amount over the cap. We know that.
10%.
10%. But still, I don't know how many people are going to be holding off to have, if this asking price is going to happen. $8 million in cap space just waiting for Evander Kane.
That's the full 10%.
So exactly. So I don't know exactly how this happened. I'm sure the arbitrator's a busy man, but how did we not sort of, and I'm sure that the people that Mr. Kane owes money to as well aren't very happy about this either. What are we doing?
No, I don't know. Like, I think it comes down to the lack of planning, obviously, clearly. How do you not how much do you remember? Like, there was like $500 million shelled out in free agency last year,
Yes.
after like day 3 or some ridiculous number like that. Like, there's a lot of money that gets thrown around, and like now you're kind of, this throws a lot up in the air, which, I mean, when this does get decided, that might be good for us because it could throw an absolute wrench in the NHL and like content, right? You know what I mean? Like, they decided, no, it was, you could, he's a free agent now. And like, it could be every team scrambling, and that'd be cool for us. But again, that's not who this is about. Funnily enough, it's the Sharks, the Oilers, and every other team that's interested in him, because now you're like, we could have done this earlier, or we could have planned this properly, but we failed to do both. And I think that's on brand for the NHL, to be honest.
Maybe they actually thought the Oilers were going to go further than they thought. And like, well, we don't have to think about this now. So I don't know. It is an interesting thing that is such a unique case for this, that I'd expect that there'd be a bit of an earlier idea how you're going to resolve everything. I feel like right now it's very, what Alex said, it's very on brand, where let's just push this to the next month, or push this aside for now, and let's talk about the other things, but we can't give more details about it because that's going to happen at a later time.
How NHL is it that things drag on? This is the arbitration. Again, I know independent investigator, but this is still like, it's an NHL contract, and the false, like, I thought they had to prove something to the NHL or presented to have the contract terminated in the first place. So how long, and if you're Evander Kane or his agent, Dan Milstein, would you not have this evidence ready from the time the Sharks terminated the deal to now? And then how long does it take to then, in the meantime, present that evidence and allow the arbitrator to make a decision? You know what I mean? It's why could they have not of? And again, if I was the NHL, I would say, tough crap, Kane. You're not playing until this is sorted out. This is way too important. This is it's I want to say it's a dangerous precedent, because I don't know how many times we're going to see this because of how extreme it was. But in the fact that this was terminated in the first place, and obviously clearly Kane wasn't happy with that, because that's why we're in with an independent guy now. But it's just it's that thing of we want to rewrite the rule books. Well, it's going to take too long to do it. Just light a fire under your ass for once and pick it up, NHL. And Mr. Arbitrator, how do you just disappear? Well, he's probably like a lawyer, so he's probably going to the golf course. He's got his clubs, and he's going down to California because it's the middle of summer. But
Florida.
Come on now.
To Florida.
Yeah. Or maybe he's going to Georgia. You're going to go play on Augusta or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Should have asked Lil Lauer, what are the best golf courses? I don't know.
No, and I'm surprised. Like, what I really want to know, and I want to know what the conversation is behind the scene. Obviously, that's what I want to know for everything. But I think this is quite interesting, mainly because, like you said, we haven't really seen something like this before. Obviously, we've seen contract terminations before, but I don't remember the last time we've seen one of this magnitude in dollar amount. And when was the last time we've seen one disputed like this? And that's like, what are other teams saying? Like, San Jose, I'm assuming, like you said, is pissed because it's like July 13th, we have decisions to make. They don't have a GM right now, but whoever they hire, is going to have lots of decisions to make with that team. The
Mhm.
Oilers, Ken Holland has plenty of decisions to make about the future of the Edmonton Oilers in terms of Puljujarvi. Are we bringing back Kane? A lot of depth guys they have to work with. Like, what are other teams looking at this and saying too? Like, I'd be curious to know their perspective on this.
And then watch this actually get resolved and Daly was exaggerating a bit when we look silly. Please don't.
I'd love to look like if there's times where it's like I'd rather not look silly, but there's plenty of times where I'm like I'd like to look silly, and this might be one of them because like I don't know, I think that this is kind of embarrassing on the league. Like you didn't have this resolved by the first day of free agency, probably one of the biggest days of the biggest day of the off season and one of the biggest days of the hockey season. Come on.
My favorite day of the year. That this trade deadline sucks now. It's out in the draft. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it on the show. Obviously, Alex unfortunately won't be able to make it because the Guelph Nighthawks are just, the Guelph Nighthawks. He can't say no to the Guelph Nighthawks. He's the company man, right? Like the employee of the month doesn't ditch it because he's employee of the month.
He's the Jackie Moon of the Nighthawks.
Who's gonna do the social media though?
Exactly. But Daniel and I are going to the NHL draft in Montreal both days.
Our names are in it.
Question. Here's the real question. You do so you have tickets to the second day?
Yeah.
You're gonna stay all 6 rounds.
Yeah, yes. 7. Oh yeah, so sorry, the 6th and the second day, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because here's the thing.
I expect updates.
Here's the thing. The second day goes quickly, but it's just the problem is the last 2 years it's been remote. Remember how long apparently it took the 2nd through 7th rounds to finish last year?
Yes.
But normally it goes by a lot quicker, but I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for it. It should be a very good time. Daniel, maybe we'll take some videos on that. We can do something fun.
I have to figure out what merch I'm wearing.
I would hope you don't have any Habs stuff, do you?
I do. I have the Habs 1993 championship hat.
You don't have a jersey though, do you?
I could look for one.
Well, you're wearing a Jonathan Drouin one if you can't find one. Hopefully he's not traded by then.
Okay.
I actually have something else from the press conference.
Sure. I meant to bring it up. Yeah.
So, no, something different. I just saw it from Rick Westhead, so it's going to be.
Good. Okay.
Okay, so NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, in his pre-Stanley Cup media availability, says he expects the NHL will release the findings of its investigations into the alleged rape of a woman by 8 CHL players in 2018. Then he asked a question: what is the NHL's recourse if players contacted by investigators refuse to cooperate? That was the end of the tweet. But their expectation is the investigation will be released. Because
it's the NHL, I'm expecting the answer to be no. But I think the big question everyone has, whether this comes, because obviously there's part of the government that's looking into this. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think, are going to be really curious as to, do we know the names? We don't know all the details of like the settlement amount and all that. Like we know apparently, I think the victim asked for what was like $3.55 million, but we don't know how much she ended up getting in the settlement. I would be very, very curious to know if any of the names come up. I doubt it. Like I would almost put money on the fact that they aren't, but I'm very interested to see what those findings are. I'm very interested to see.
Sorry, Daniel.
I'm surprised they mentioned it too, by the way.
Yeah, same. Daniel, do you have anything to say on that? Because I have another note from the press conference.
I'd like to hear. I don't know. It's such an iffy situation right now. I know that based on what we've heard from Rick Westhead right now, I'm expecting more of, I guess, a thorough look at this, more details on what we could talk about for this one. So for now, I am very invested in what is going on right now, but I'd like definitely more information on it.
For sure.
We'll do the part.
Just going back to what we were talking about, Evander Kane, funny enough.
Okay.
This is from Chris Johnston. In the event Evander Kane's grievance remains unresolved into the start of NHL free agency, which it sounds like it is, it's not expected to prevent him from signing another contract for 2022, 2023, and potentially beyond.
Wow.
How? What? Okay, hold on a minute. I have questions. So what if he signs a big deal, right? Like he signs a great big deal with the Flyers open checkbook. Okay, what happens if he signs that contract and then the arbitrator's like, San Jose in the wrong, you're actually a Shark? What happens to the contract the Flyers gave to him? What happens? So basically, the Sharks, in theory, have to be careful about how much cap they have going into the offseason in past July 13th or whatever, 12th, 30th, I can't remember, because they then all of a sudden might get Kane's contract back. And I remember, does he not have a 3-team list of where he can be traded to? So they're going to be stuck. He'll get to choose. He'll put Winnipeg on it like he did last year because he won't be sent there. Brilliant move. Bad guy, brilliant move. So I
don't think Winnipeg.
How can he sign a contract when we don't?
So you know what's it's super weird. What I don't understand about this, and
stupid league.
I'm maybe I'm missing parts of this, but to me, the NHL is acting as if the termination was valid, which is what they believe. Clearly, this is how we got to this point. They believe it's valid, yet it's going to an arbitrator, which now, and I don't know the law. So again, I don't know the law. I'm putting that out there. Does that mean they can still move forward as if they believe they're valid? Does it make sense to move forward? Sorry, more so, does it make sense to move forward as if they're valid? I think is what I don't understand. That's what I'm confused about.
This is a dumb league. That's stupid. And I can't wait for him to get signed somewhere and then the arbitrator say, no, you're a Shark, and everything goes wrong. I can't wait for it to happen. Okay, final thing. This is also Chris Johnson had the tweet for this first. I closed it. I'm an idiot. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh goodness. I've stalled it. Yes.
It was about here I have it. So Bill Daly says it's important for the NHL to conduct the next World Cup of Hockey in season. Talks have been held for a possible February 2024 tournament, although that's a work in progress because it creates issues for the European leagues. Now, remember, like the European leagues, I don't think all of them are involved, but they're involved in their own league, and then they have the Champions League for hockey. So now they're already in two competitions, just as a thing, which I imagine what could be the issue. Now you're overplaying these players a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
I do have a solution, but it is a not very nice solution.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So the World Championship, the IIHF World Championships, I understand its significance, and maybe you can also keep this. But what I think you do is if you want to do an actual World Cup of Hockey, you do it just before the regular season, because that is a time where I'd have to go double check, but I believe there really is no European hockey being played as well. And what you do and what can be done, because obviously you're not going to do it in the dead middle of a summer. That's not smart. That there's so much else going on sports wise. There could be soccer, there could be baseball, and these are all more popular than Formula hockey, of course. Formula One too. Yeah, but that's a every weekend type thing, right? So it's a little bit different. I say you do it before the regular season. You get the IIHF in and say, come here, let's do more than Drake has done in the last week.
And LeBron.
Why? What did LeBron say?
No, he just touched the cup and it was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
LeBron
LeBron touched the cup. Oh my God. Now there's like probably a million more people who know what hockey is in the US.
We love it.
I say you do it then. And I feel like that's a good time. If you do it in September, is that bad?
I'll tell you what, the guys going would love it because that means they don't have to do training camp.
Yeah.
And players hate training camp.
And what you do it once every 4 years? Like, how would you do? Like, to me, obviously, World Cup of Hockey. If you're following the other formats, you probably do it once every 4 years.
So the Winter Olympics are obviously every 4 years.
Yeah,
no,
so
it's because it's 2 years between Olympics,
summer and winter.
Summer and winter, yeah.
So what I would do is like, so you have your Winter Olympics, and then the years where there are the summer ones is when I would do a World Cup.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't want to interfere with the Olympics.
I like
no.
Yeah. Plus, not to mention players. The reason also what you kind of do is forget just the ratings thing. If I'm a player agreeing to doing this, not even like just the thing of earlier in the summer, I say I'm not doing that because if I'm a player who's had a deep run, I need the time to recover and build up my body. And the other ones
I have
are
a
like,
solution.
I want to go to Cancun is the other one. And and just one last thing, and I'll give it back to you here.
No.
Also, like, I don't want to. I can't do 2 big international tournaments in the same year if I'm a player. I'm like, let me do my Olympics there, and then another off 2 years, I'll help you with your stupid tournament. But yeah, go ahead.
And because I think the importance here is that it's not just an NHL thing. Because if it's an NHL thing, I don't. It's not the same to me. I thought, to me, the World Cup they did in 2016, honestly, did not mean a whole lot. I watched it. It did not mean a whole lot to me.
It didn't have the pizzazz.
When I watched the World Cup every 4 years, my Lord, that means something to me. When I watch the Euros every 4 years or the Copa America, whenever it happens, because they like to do it in a different order sometimes, it means something to these guys. I don't think it meant something to, it didn't feel the same. I have a solution to the guys who say I need to rest. Shorten the season.
Oh yeah, I wish.
Oh wow.
Oh, I wish.
Shorten the season permanently.
They've been saying that with the NBA now. Shorten the season. And the NFL, well, it was extra bye weeks.
I see. Because here's what's funny. I don't think it's the worst thing to like. I get cautious doing it with certain sports like NFL because of what we know about concussions and obviously that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be opposed if you had more like time to rest. But then I'm almost like, wouldn't you just have the summer? Because here's the thing: like we talked about Formula One. That's like, what is it like January? No. It ends in Christmas. When does the Formula One season
usually
start?
around March.
Around March,
Yeah.
Like that's pretty like. But obviously those guys
season.
have a different sort of physical strain compared to other ones. I mean, well, Lewis Hamilton might not have
Very
a working
different.
back after Montreal, but poor guy. But like I
Also, the travel is insane. They're completely different, right?
So if I'm a Western, like for example, if I'm a Western NHL team, God, I would love a shorter schedule.
Sure.
God, I would love it. Less games because they're like if you're Vancouver, like how more like I don't know, like I wonder what Seattle's travel is like because it's gonna suck. Like they notoriously the West have the worst travel in the league.
I believe Dallas has the worst. Is it Dallas or is it?
That sounds right.
I believe it's. I feel like I hear Jeff Merrick say it all the time that Dallas has the worst schedule.
So I'd be okay with it. But I mean, this is the NHL. It's always that thing of what we would love, and then it's like the NHL always have the opposite opinion.
Because the NHL.
When I said stupid tournament, I didn't mean your idea. I mean the general idea of the World Cup of hockey because it's extremely hot, by the way.
Yeah, no, the NHL doesn't listen. If you don't think the World Cup of soccer helps grow and has helped grow the game of soccer around the world, you're horribly mistaken. This could do great things, I think, for the NHL and growing it around the world. And what I think the NHL needs to understand if they want to get this done, and I think we've said it about 100 times on this podcast, is that you need the NBA, I think, is very well known around the world. Fair?
Oh, yeah. Adam Silver is not perfect, but he like what he's done is great. You know what I mean?
The Premier League is known around the world.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not going to be a snap of the finger that this is going to happen, but you have to start somewhere. And I genuinely believe that if you start like this, I think it will definitely help. And what I think, and again, another thing the NHL doesn't understand is this is a long game. This is going to be a 5-year thing. And in 5 years, we're going to be like this. It's like they've forgotten that change and growth takes time. And I think that's what they've forgotten in their growth of hockey. Not that they care, clearly not. They don't care about the growth of hockey, but it'd be nice for them to care a little bit.
I just saw a really funny tweet from the official Star Wars account. Just seeing you may have seen it actually. When someone's like, "Don't make Star Wars political," right? And then someone was like a queer character in that, for example. They're humans, right? Like it isn't like political. Those are people, right? And then the other one was a joke of like war is literally in our name, which is like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? But like just stuff like that, right? And like I just think of that, right? And the other day, Nick Suzuki was talking about like really wanting to reach out to the LGBT. I don't know the full acronym. I'm so sorry, but like that full community, right? And like I remember, I think Sarah Sivian talked about like that part of the NHL's ally program is extremely out of date. And if you look at the representatives from each team, some of them don't even it's out of date. You know what I mean? Like there are certain guys like he doesn't play for that team anymore. And that's like another, and I talk about it obviously because Pride Month is very relevant right now. Like, where's that? And I was gonna say like the women's game, but we've sort of beat that horse to death. You know what I mean already? But it's another example of like, man, they just don't try, and it's really sad. It's really sad.
And like,
great game.
It's frustrating some of the comments because I feel like there's just a lack of like understanding of business, even though they pretend to talk as if they care about the business of hockey. You do understand that by doing things like these, it does grow the game. If you care that much, it's like, I don't know really like what to say. Like, come on. Like, I mean, it's 2022. Let's figure it out. You do understand that if you actually care about the business of hockey, you'd want more people to watch the game of hockey, which means you should reach out to to a larger audience group that you haven't in the past. And you know that you've lacked that audience in the past, yet you do nothing about it. So if you're okay with stagnation, which the NHL has been in for quite some time, I think, in terms of audience growth. And I mean, hockey, kids getting into hockey, I think in Canada is not anywhere near its high. And I don't think it's going to be near its high anytime soon. The way the economy is going at the moment, you should absolutely be trying to get a larger audience. And they failed to do that for years.
I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is when we talk about international tournaments, we talk about bringing in new fans. That's definitely something that, as of right now, I'm excited about what we're talking on this subject. But at the same time, it is about the preparation. It is about what you mentioned of actually advertising this, of actually having a bit more of outreach beyond what we call the traditional hockey markets, because it is going to stay the same no matter what this tournament is going to look like. We look back on 2016, the most recent idea of what a World Cup of hockey looked like. And I was excited for it. The only thing is it really has to be in the context of a lot more certainty of what's going on with things. I think at the backdrop of it, there was the uncertainty of the Olympics. We didn't know what was going on with that one. But I think for this one, it just has to be advertised as we're going to have the top guys there. We're going to have more of what you want to see. We're going to see more variety here. We're going to have a big thing is I think the TV rights. Is every station going to be able to have the games playing? That's a big thing for me, because I look back and I know this is a very, very old argument right now. I think this is from 2015, 2016, 2017. and it's not from the most reliable source, but it is a good idea of what traditionalists look at when it comes to hockey. Don Cherry, remember when he said no one is going to care about watching a game in the middle of the night? But it's not just about Canada. It's about all the other people around the world who are watching it.
Daniel, you know what I think?
What do you think?
I lost my train of thought. I won't lie because I was just looking something up.
Okay.
It's really funny. Alex just came back on
What's
on
the
the
question?
YouTube thing. It looked like you like flashed, like you were blue, like a
Yeah,
Smurf.
I saw.
I was like, what just happened?
What
But
was
no,
your
like
question?
Daniel was giving a point, and I had like a thing I was gonna say, and it completely like blew my
Oh.
mind. Like I lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
Daniel, what was your point?
I'm distracted.
Just about how you can't fumble the bag when it comes to advertising an international tournament. And it's not just for the traditionalists, because I mentioned, and again, I've mentioned this before, that it is an outdated one, but is Don Cherry saying that who's gonna pay attention to a game that plays at like 4-5 o'clock in the morning, for example? But it's not just about the Canadian fans; it's about expanding and it's about outreaching.
No, I 100% agree with you. Now, and I don't want to. I don't agree with what he said, but I think there's a point to build off from there, where it's like, yeah, no, you're right. Who's going to watch at 4 and 5 in the morning? Because you did such a crappy job at growing the game in the past, and now you've kind of dug yourself this hole that, who's going to watch this game? And, I think the NHL has this luxury in a way where I think you can get people from Sweden, from Finland, from Norway, like from some of the Nordic countries, and and Russia too, like, who will watch these games because hockey is also popular there. Now, it might not be the most popular sport, but it is a popular enough sport there where I think if you put games on in that time zone, it will grow. But they failed to do that because, like you said, Daniel, they're so concentrated on what's going on here that they've forgotten that there's literally another side of the world. And I think that's what's stopping them from growing, I think.
Gentlemen, sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I was just going to mention what Alex said, because we've been talking about The Last Dance a lot. And I know that it was very different in Wayne Gretzky's era. But when I think about that, he was heavily involved in the advertising, in the promotions for things, that it would have been great for the NHL players to go to the Olympics and have someone like Wayne Gretzky as well, just be a spokesperson there, just showing like, look, even our former stars with our current stars are coming to another side of the world to promote the game. And then when I think about The Last Dance, and then you talk about basketball being so popular, it just, it wasn't like that until arguably, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then it just expanded greatly with a Michael Jordan, who was marketed properly and went to these international tournaments.
Okay, sir, I'm double checking something.
Okay.
All right.
And
is this the same point that we were talking about before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm asking Richard about it because obviously he's going to know better than I will. But I think we have everything for now, unless you guys have anything else you want to say.
Who is Richard?
Coffee.
Oh, Richard Coffee. Yes.
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
No. Richard Panic. No, Richard Coffee.
I do not have anything else. I'm just double checking Twitter. Going to look if CJ tweeted anything else.
All right. Going through things now.
I believe we're good though.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I'm looking. I hate that they got the guy who plays Jesse Pinkman to do betting odds because it just doesn't work when he's doing it. But which one is it? I don't know. I see this Audible ad and he's in it. I shouldn't show it. They're not paying us. But it's just sponsor us actually. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. $5.2 billion in revenue. God, I hate that.
Oh, wow. Was that what the number?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, wow.
You know what, guys? We're totally screwed when it comes to the cap, but meh. Okay, well, thank you for listening, everyone. Shorter episode. I think we stretched out a bit, but I don't even think it's going to be an hour long, or just over. We're going to talk about Kenobi on Sunday because just schedules. Alex hasn't seen it. Daniel, have you watched it yet?
Actually,
I was about to watch it for my lunch break, but then when Alex said that he was not going to be able to watch it, I'll just leave it to Sunday.
Don't go on Twitter.
We're gonna have to talk about Sunday actually after the episode.
All right.
Oh, okay. It might not be Sunday.
Sorry, guys.
Might not be Sunday.
I
but
just
we'll
thought
talk
about
about
that.
it eventually. Season, maybe series finale. We don't know yet. There's rumors about season 2, but the last episode of maybe first season is next week too, so that'll be exciting. Anyway, thank you for listening. Check out all the links in the description wherever you listen to find out. Check out the show on YouTube. It's getting better numbers nowadays, so that's always good. Thank you. We'll see you later.